Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and yesterday we took a look at the tier list for Standard for the month of September 20, giving the best 9 decks across 3 tiers, and today we will be taking a look at the best wild decks for the same month of September 2020. Crazy, right? This tier list won't be quite as different as the Standard one was from the prior month because, yeah, not a heck of a lot has changed. Let's start with tier 1, basically unchanged from last month. We have at the best deck, undisputed, ridiculous top tier deck, basically should just be in the tier by itself, but it's not. We have Darkglare Warlock. We've talked a lot about on stream and on our YouTube and all of that, how it's just completely warping the meta. You play Darkglare, you play Raise Dead, you cheat a bunch of mana, you play a bunch of Giants on turn 3 and 4, you lock your opponent out with Loatheb or Neophytes or whatever, and you win the game. You can run stuff like Enhanso Mechano or whatever it's called to give it Wind Fury, or just play Sun Fury Protector to protect yourself against some aggression. And the deck is just ridiculous. I believe I took a look at my Twitter feed today, and I think Goku farmed them with like Dead Man's Hand Warrior, build very tech to beat Darkglare, and he faced like 70% Darkglare Warlock day one. The class is just, the deck is out of control. It's just ridiculous. It is kind of counterable. There are a couple of decks to beat it, and we'll go over those in a bit. But overall, it just doesn't really lose to much. It's like just super powerful. It's pushed out almost every aggressive deck in the game because it's just better at being aggressive, because it just cheats out so much, so fast, so consistently, and it's got the healing, it's got the taunts. It just doesn't have a lot of weaknesses outside of a couple of big board wipes that can lock it out, or maybe you can burn them down, but that can be difficult, especially when you gotta burn them down on like turns 4 and 5. Like it's not easy to get that much burn in there. And yeah, Darkglare Warlock is an absolute powerhouse in Standard. And I'm starting to worry that it's just not going to change at all anytime soon. Next on the list, we have Reno Priest. Yeah, it's one of the kind of counters to Darkglare Warlock. You have Mass Hysteria, you have Anduin, you have Zephyrus, you have Death, you have removal options and things like that, and you can kind of try and like stall them with Wave of Apathy if your list runs that, and you know, that's a way of trying to win. And outside of that, I mean, Reno Priest is a great matchup spread against a lot of stuff because you have Polkelt, which lets you draw out your Anduin on reliably into Psychic Scream, into Reno, into Raza, into your Spawn of Shadows, into your opponent is dead unless they have a bunch of armor or they've killed you first. It's a very powerful deck. It's super consistent because of Polkelt now, and a 0 mana hero power is incredibly powerful when you can deal effectively infinite damage and heal up a bunch with Reno and all of that. So yeah, still absolutely powerful deck, definitely tier 1, and you know, if it wasn't for Darkglare, it'd probably be the tier S deck. It's like really close. Like they're both super powerful decks, and I feel like for Wild's health and long-term viability, I do feel that there's a good shot that they need to at least get tweaked, nerfed in some way, but we've talked about that a lot. I'm not going to keep harping on it. Hopefully we'll hear something in some regard about a balanced patch at some point, because Standard's due for one, and I think Wild will get tagged along in that patch, so maybe in the next few weeks we'll have some information on that. Next, we have the very low tier 1, but I'll still give it a tier 1, is Kingsbane Rogue, the aggressive rogue deck that's utilized Secret Passage, Cunning Class, all of that. You draw your Kingsbane, you buff it up, get all your buffs, all of that, go face, etc., etc. The problem is it's not super favored against Darkglare Warlock. It's like 50-50, and it's kind of unfavored against Reno Priest because, you know, weapon removal and healing. So yeah, it really needs to rely on its explosive high roll opening to win a lot of these matchups, and it can do that. Secret Passage is ridiculous. You have Raiding Party, you have Shiny Find, you have a lot of consistency to find your weapon and do all of that, so it does a lot of good stuff, and, you know, across all ranks, this deck is crazy. Like, it's only at the higher legend where it's like really tacked and really cutthroat that it can be very difficult to maneuver a deck like this, but I think if you're playing it like any regular ranks, you're going to crush it with some Kingsbane Rogue, as well as the other decks I mentioned. They'll all crush it, but it's a very good deck. I just don't think it's quite at the power level of the other two, And yeah, as you see, tier 1 is basically the same from last month. I don't think I had Darkglare there, that one on my last video, because it just kind of become a thing. But if I had updated it like literally a day later, I would have. And yeah, tier 1, pretty settled, and I would be shocked to see this change anytime soon without a balance patch. So let's take a look at tier 2. We're looking at kind of like some counters here for the top decks. Like, this tier 2 is like so far below tier 1, it's ridiculous. Like, you shouldn't bother playing a lot of these decks if you want to play competitively. So first, I'm going to lump them kind of together. I know they're not the same archetype. I know they're not the same deck. But I'm going to lump them together. And that's Odd Warrior and Dead Man's Hand Warrior. They're both basically there for the same purpose. Beat Darkglare. Beat them. Whether it be through armor gain. You see what I have to deal with here? Both of these decks are totally tech to beat Darkglare Warlock. They have all the wipes. Lord Bara, Brawl, Plague of Death, whatever, Flame, whatever it's called. Like, all the stuff, right? And it's just, I feel like when I've played it, it hasn't felt enough. Like, I feel like I get locked out by Loatheb, or just run out of stuff, because they have double Raised Dead. They have 4 Giants and more stuff they can get back. But a lot of people have had success with Odd Warrior, DMH. I'll list 2 different lists below in the description. Pick or choose what you want. I think Odd Warrior is better overall against, like, Darkglare, whereas Dead Man's Hand gives you a better shot at beating Darkglare and some Reno Priest, because you can put in Grizzled Wizard and Finley, because it's kind of just necessary to steal their hero power. And yeah, those are kind of like 2 good anti-aggro options for Darkglare. That's kind of the best you got. Next, I've seen a lot of Reno Mage, a lot of like Reno Mage pop up. People have been playing that to out heal. It's good against Reno Priest when you get like Jaina out. Things like that, Reno, Ice Block. Because right now, the way the Reno Priest lists are made is that they're tech to basically, they don't have as much reach and burn as like prior builds. They're more about Pull Celt and, you know, just getting to that win condition. And when you have Ice Block, you have Reno, and you have Water Elementals with Lifesteal, well, you can outlast them. And Reno Mage can do a good job against aggression. It can compete somewhat with Darkglare Warlock. Not against the high rolls, but, you know, you got Zephyrus, you have some AoE, you have Reno and things like that. You have a fighting chance. So it's another deck you can consider, and, you know, it's cool to be able to play Jaina again. We also have Jade Druid popping up. I had a little bit of success trying this off stream. I haven't really streaming Wild. It's been too frustrating with Darkglare, but I tried it out. There's this highlighting a Guardian Animals list here. So basically you play Guardian Animals, you play like a lot of the regular Jade stuff, and you cheat out Witchwood Grizzly, you cheat out your Twilight Runner, all of that. And it can be ridiculous. And of course you have Poison Siege, which can really help you against Darkglare Warlock, and of course the Jade Idol win condition. And like I said, with Reno Priest, they're not armor, or they're not having as much reach these days, so you can possibly out-armor them, because, you know, you have Branching Paths, you have Ferocious Hell, you have Malfurion. So you have a fighting shot, and, you know, you don't have a win condition so much. You don't have, like, Togwaggle, Malagos, but you kind of need to be able to defend yourself against Darkglare. Like, Malagos doesn't cut it. You don't have Seeds in that deck, and Togwaggle is just too slow, and of course, like, most priests are still running Mindrender or Lucia, so you try and combo them, they're just going to steal that too. So Jade Druid's like kind of that option for like a little bit of anti-aggro with your Poison Seed, Spreading Plague, the Guardian Animals package. You also have Oaken Summons and all of that. And then you can try and out-armor the Reno Priests. And, you know, if you queue a Quest Mage, I guess you're sad you've lost, but there's just so little on ladder because of all the aggression. So next we're taking a look at the Tier 3 decks. Of a couple more aggressive options to try and counter Darkglare Warlock, as well as high roll Reno Priest. So first being Secret Mage, classic old Secret Mage. Can do good work against Darkglare Warlock. Well, you have Explosive Runes. They play that, their Darkglare blows up. You have Fireballs to burn them out. You have, you know, Medivh's Valet, all of that stuff, Counterspell. You have ways of disrupting their high roll turns, and then if they put themselves too low, you can just burn them out. And, you know, Secret Mage has been a tried, tested, true, powerful, wild deck. And it can high roll Reno Priest. They don't get the properly healing in time. You burn them out, you kill them. It can work, but it's definitely not a top tier deck, but it's definitely viable. It definitely does good stuff. And, you know, not much has changed about it. It's Secret Mage. You cheat out your secrets, you cheat out your minions, you play Alanith, draw a bunch of cards, try and burn your opponent out. And it has had a lot of success. Next we have Odd Rogue, another aggressive rogue archetype that abuses Secret Passage, Cunning Class, all of that. Again, same type of deal. You try and outrace the Darkglare Warlock. It's kind of slow at that regard. It doesn't really get there. And against Reno Priest, you know, again, it's got that issue. And again, I am going to evaluate every single deck against these top 2 decks because that's the way it is. Most of your matchups are against Darkglare Warlock, so when you're evaluating what, or Darkglare Warlock and Reno plays, and when you're evaluating what deck you're playing, you kind of try to need to beat those 2 decks. And Aggro gives you a shot. You can high roll with your aggression. You get your Hench Clan Thug out that they can't answer. Or, you know, you just snowball with your early minions. You have some lackeys and all that stuff in there. And, you know, you can aggro them down. And again, Darkglare Warlock, maybe you outrace them. All of that stuff. So, yeah. Aggro, still a solid aggressive deck. Secret Passage really helped it. But it's just still not quite at the level of the other. Hence the Tier 3 listing. And last, I'll do an honorable mention. This deck's probably not Tier 3. But honestly, Concerned Mom keeps doing well with it. And I played it. And I think, you know, it's not the worst. And that's Wild Turtle Mage that relies on, you know, the same thing, Tortling, but you cheat out Frost Nova, Ice Block, and Potions, so you can get infinite Ice Blocks. And, well, board freezes against, you know, Darkglare Warlock is very effective. You freeze their board, and then you get to your Turtle, and then you get Ice Blocks, and, well, they can't do anything to you anymore. The problem is getting to turn 8, and they have Loatheb, they have the Giants and all that, but it's doable. It's probably unfavored, but it's a winnable matchup. And then Reno Priest, I think you're quite favored. Like, they can't really mind render the Total Lords. It doesn't work very well. Like, you play a bunch of them, they can only play so many, and you have 2 copies of them, so they kind of need to get lucky with, like, Rat or Lucia RNG and stuff like that. So it does pretty well against the top 2 decks. Like, it can beat both of them, and it's very degenerate. It's very non-interactive, but it's very slow and very difficult to play. It's definitely a deck you can't just pick up right away and have success with it. You really have to figure it out. And there's, of course, there's RNG with it in terms of, like, oh, you draw both potions. You're probably not going to win because you're not going to be able to go infinite with your turtles. But sometimes you can find a way with, like, tempo and all of that. So that's the decks for the week, for the month of September 2020 for Wild. Hopefully you have some interesting stuff to try out. It's a really dire meta right now with the way Reno Priest and Darkglare Warlock are completely dictating everything. I hate to be a broken record, but that's just the way it is. So be prepared for that. Try and, you know, hone your strategy to defeat those decks. And let me know in the comments below, are there some that I missed out on? Some that you'd recommend to beat up on those decks? Some that maybe I'm overrating here. As always, it's always an interesting debate. I'm never 100% correct, but I get my best opinion out there. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.